watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. We do have some breaking news this afternoon. The arrest of Jessica Rivera, now charged with tampering with evidence in an Osceola County homicide case. Her boyfriend was arrested last week. This is Rivera being arrested at Whispering Oak Elementary School in Winter Garden, where she worked. We know that her boyfriend was arrested last week and charged with first-degree murder in the shooting death of a 19-year-old, a case that the Osceola County Sheriff called an ambush. Well, it is 4 o'clock, and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4 is Fox 35 News anchor John Brown. John, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, good to see you. Happy Monday to you. Now, that house you were looking at right there, we're going to show it to you again. That's the house that is the center of an investigation right now. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says that his office is helping the Bartow Police Department investigate what they're calling a violent death inside that house in of a neighborhood. First responders found the victim there, an 81-year-old man, dead this morning at that independent group living home. 3 other people also lived in the home that was owned by ET Care. Judd says the man was last seen on Saturday evening. He is expected to hold a press conference. Looking around right now.
In fact, it looks like
did he just start it?
He has begun to speak here, so let's go ahead and listen in.
Of age. And here's what we know. The police department initially got everybody together in the living room. They notified us and said, hey, we've got a murder investigation, and this is really strange because it's at if you will, an independent care facility. So when we arrived, we found that Moses Ojeda ultimately was our culprit. We took him into custody, and we learned this. In 2025, he's been Baker Acted 6 different times. And on this occasion, he was sent, once he was released from the Baker Act, and he was in the Baker Act facility about 2 weeks, he was sent to this care facility. Now, I want you to understand that this is independent living, so there's no direct supervision of this person. So he arrived there at about 6:45 in the evening. At about 11:45 in the evening, or about 5 hours later, he stabbed our victim to death. He stabbed our victim 113 times. And when we asked him during the interview, he confessed why he stabbed him 113 times. He said the knife wasn't very sharp. We saw there were 4 or 5 deep wounds, and then, as you can imagine, just dozens and dozens of wounds that weren't so deep. We also noticed that our victim had defensive wounds on him. So during the confession, we said, Moses, why did you stab this victim? He said, well, voices in my head told me to kill him. And so you stabbed him. What was he doing at the time? Oh, he was sleeping, but he woke up. And when he woke up, our victim said, why do you want to stab me? And he said, I just do. When we ask our suspect, Moses, do you regret stabbing the victim? He said, I live my life with no regrets. So let me focus on this a minute. When he was dropped off at this facility by his mother told the people who owned the care facility, you've got to hide the knives. And they did. They put the knives in an undisclosed location, but Moses found them. And within 5 hours of arriving at the facility, stabbed and killed our 81-year-old victim. Now, here's what's important to understand. That upon further questioning, Moses said, oh, our victim was a good guy. He said, I just had to do what I had to do. We asked, Did he fight with you? Did you have an argument during the evening before the suspect or the victim went to sleep? And he said, no, not at all. I just heard voices that told me to kill him. So he stabbed him ultimately 113 times. Moses has been diagnosed with ADHD, bipolar, paranoid schizophrenic, autism, anxiety, and sudden outburst of rage. And guess what? He doesn't have any criminal history. Now, he was Baker Acted 6 times this year, and he has committed what appears to be domestic battery violence against his mother. But his mother was protective of him, and she wanted to get him help. And she really meant well and went above and beyond to help him. But at the end of the night, he was violent, and he was dangerous, and he murdered this person. Okay, so what happened after the murder? Well, Moses said that he went to the victim's bathroom, where he washed the knife and cleaned it up, where he washed the blood off of himself. He then replaced the knife in the butcher block, where it was originally placed out of sight. Then he went to his room and he took off a cover that he was wearing. I believe it was like a hoodie that had blood on it, and put it in his hamper. And then he changed his shoes, which had blood on them, and they were still in his room. Then he woke up the next morning. He turned off the light and closed the victim's door, because that's normally how the victim was. Now understand that the victim normally didn't eat breakfast, so they didn't become concerned about him until lunchtime. And that's when they found him. Well, in fact, he'd been dead about 12 hours by that time. So our suspect wakes up the next morning after a good night's sleep, after stabbing our victim to death. He eats breakfast, he watches a little television, he hangs out, and he is still there when 911 is dialed and the Bartow police officers arrive and detain everyone. This is a freaky event. It's a dangerous event. In fact, the owners of this facility, this care facility, said that during the evening, apparently Moses was wandering around in the neighborhood and went to go back into the house but forgot the door code. So they let him back into the home. And they had made up their mind from their interaction just through the evening and the next morning that, hey, we're going to have to take him back to his mother, that he needs far more attention than we can give him in this independent living facility. I appreciate the good work that the Bartow Police Department did with us. We work hand in glove, and that's the way we do in this business. I asked the captain if he wanted to speak. He said, no, I'll just stand up and let you do all the talking, Sheriff. So I want to leave you with this picture. This is the murder weapon. As you see, the tip of the knife is broken off. We're still looking for the tip of the knife. We don't know if it was broken off before, but that was one of the reasons he said he had a hard time stabbing him, because the knife wasn't very sharp. But was he violent? Yes. Was he dangerous? Yes. And ultimately, he murdered an 81-year-old man who was simply sleeping in his bed. Okay. Any questions?
What do we know about Patrick? Was he a father?
Wow.
Well, that was the Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd giving the details about that. The 81-year-old man stabbed more than 100 times. I think he said 113 times while he was sleeping. And the sheriff said this was a freaky case.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff he was saying there, like, just said he needed to do it. Voices in his head were telling him to do it. And I mean, this raises one of those issues again, like who decides who lives with whom in an independent living facility? Because and I don't know how to do the checks. I mean, it's a question I want to answer. I'm like,
right.
If grandpa goes into a facility and somebody comes in and they said he didn't have didn't have an arrest record, I guess.
No criminal record.
But had been Baker acted. Boy, those are the kind of things that I think you need to know. There'll be a lot of investigations on this one, that's for sure.
Right, much more to come on that for sure.
All right, let's talk about this one very quickly. We'll go through these very quickly. Also on our 4. Supreme Court today ruling that the Trump administration can strip legal protections for about 350 Venezuelans, and that potentially exposes them to deportation. The court's order, only one dissent here, by the way, puts on hold a ruling from a federal judge in San Francisco that kept in place that temporary protected status. Okay, that status allows people already in the U.S. to live and work here legally because their home countries are deemed unsafe. So now there's a big concern about what happens with these 350,000, and there's another 300,000 coming up later on this year. Will they be sent back to Venezuela? Because some of the lawyers representing these people said this now puts their lives in danger because of the situation in Venezuela, which we all know is dangerous there. So a lot of unknowns right now. Do we end up deporting them back, even though they had protected status all this time? So it's scary for a lot of families, and the vast majority of them are in Central Florida.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
A lot of them here. Now, this afternoon on Florida Live, I spoke with Congressman Soto, who is sponsoring legislation right now to extend this TPS, temporary protective status for the Venezuelan community. And he talked about some of those concerns, and we'll hear more from him later on in the show. As well. All
right, we'll get through this one very quickly here. Drug trafficking organization here in Central Florida been dismantled. This was a big deal, by the way. A lot of people involved here. Back, September of last year, Orange County Sheriff's Office and FDLE launched this multi-jurisdictional investigation, and they found what went across Orange, Polk, Osceola, and Hillsborough counties. Revealed the leaders of organizations were importing fentanyl from California and Mexico and cocaine from Puerto Rico. They also seized a lot of guns here, $50,000 in cash. 17 people arrested, and this was, again, another one of these we talk about where this is going on right here in our neighborhoods, and those are the people who are arrested. This stuff is happening here, and you don't realize, and there's still, 4, I believe? Yeah, 4 who are still out there. But again, this kind of operation right here in town, these are the people driving next to you on I-4, living in the apartment next to you. I mean, that's a scary situation.
It is, and we know they were able to get a large amount of drugs off the street. I think with a street value of $1.5 million.
That's wild. Yeah. Okay. And final one here. This is the week, right? Epic Universe finally going to open up this Thursday. Okay, highly anticipated theme park's going to be home to several lands. You got the 5 lands over there, and you can see the schedule right there. And we're going to be out there doing reports all week long. So you got the 5 lands: Harry Potter Land, Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragon, Dark Universe, and Celestial Park. And that, by the way, Celestial Park is where it all ties together. The main portal is what Universal calls it. So you can see it's going to be a big day on Thursday. We're out there live all week long. I'm going to be out there for a couple of days. At least the weather's going to break a little bit for that. But, man, that opening just before the holiday weekend, Central Florida's on fire right now. There's so much good stuff going on here.
Yeah, and going to be big crowds. We talked with Theron White earlier today about what to expect when it comes to some of those wait times. We'll hear more of that in just a little bit. But you talked about all of our coverage. We'll be on Thursday. We'll be streaming all day in between the newscasts as well. So a lot of Epic Universe coverage. You'll be joining us
I'll be there Wednesday and Thursday. So immersed in it.
All right. And it is an immersive place, so a good place to be immersed in. John, we appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
That is today's Top 4 at 4. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer joins me now. And TJ, it is steamy out there.
Garrett, it's all the adjectives we never want to use. Sweltering, oppressive, steamy, sultry.
And try to think, when it's a long stretch like this, try to think of different ones that we haven't used. I need to start a running list so that I'm not just saying the same one every time.
We're like a broken record. It's hard, though. Like you said, when you get into this pattern, it's tough because every day is kind of a wash, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah, just with nothing to wash and rinse with because we're not seeing any rain.
I know we badly need the rain. I know we had that stretch of rain. We are tracking at least some small chances as we head through the rest of our week, so that is some good news. But I know the drought, as we don't get any rain, will continue to worsen after improving just a little bit. With this ridge of high pressure, we are hot, we are dry, and we are humid. We're seeing that sunshine mixed with clouds out there at the port. That's our Launch Credit Union camera. At least there's a little breeze. You can see the palm fronds waving there in the breeze, which at least helps a little bit because it is stifling. It is hot, and when you factor in the humidity, it is even worse. Now with this ridge, it's really preventing any sort of systems from getting into Florida. You can see a boundary draped to our north. There has been some showers and thunderstorms over the last 24 hours near that, but really it's not going to make its way into Florida. And in fact, we're just going to stay hot and stay dry with just a few clouds from time to time as we progress through really the first half of this week. Temperatures in the middle 90s for those in DeLand, 94 in Orlando, Leesburg. It is 93 in Winter Haven, slightly better with the help of still the cooler waters. It is at 86 out in New Smyrna, 85 in Cocoa Beach. Now the dew points, that's what's making it feel worse. Remember, when you have dew points that are up especially beyond 70 degrees, that's the air you can wear. It's that uncomfortable, thick feeling air mass. And we even have some spots at 75, like in Cocoa Beach, mid-70s in Claremont, Daytona, or I should say New Smyrna. Daytona, you're at 70, but even that's not great. We're still in that humid category, but some of us are starting to get into that tropical realm. And it just feels thick when you're out and about in that sort of air, and it only makes it feel worse. We have feels like temps or the heat indices up at 104 degrees right now for those in Bithlo, 102 in Bushnell and Claremont. You really need to stay hydrated, think about your pets. Also remember not to overexert yourself for any sort of prolonged period of time outdoors without taking breaks or drinking some water to keep yourself hydrated. It's going to be another one of those nights too where because of how much moisture in the air, it's going to be a slow fall back toward our overnight lows. We're expecting temperatures in the middle 70s around the metro, above normal for this time of the year under a mixture of clouds and stars. Then tomorrow we're expecting a similar setup. Highs once again in the mid to upper 90s with just a little bit of cloud cover as this ridge, this area of high pressure holds strong, which means more heat indices or feels like temps back up beyond the century mark. No heat advisories or anything like that, but still it is sweltering and it's going to be a steamy stretch until we can get this next cold front to move its way on in. We're not expecting widespread showers and thunderstorms with it, but we are expecting at least the chance for showers and thunderstorms as we head into the day on Thursday. Of course, as we've been talking about, that's going to coincide with Epic Universe opening up. So maybe bringing the poncho just to be safe. We could have some isolated showers and thunderstorms on the move as this front starts to work its way into the Sunshine State. But not a washout, but just be prepared and make sure you have the poncho with you. I think we're going to keep those chances around as we progress through the evening as well. But it's still going to be hot. We're not going to get a really big break from the temperatures that are staying above normal. I think our window, though, at least around the Orlando metro, the chances for showers and thunderstorms going to be rising as we head through the latter half of the day. A few storms are possible, but you can still see as we look throughout the day, we have some dry periods in there, but notice highs again getting up into the lower 90s. It's still a little bit above normal, but some good news for you heading through late month into early next. It looks like we're starting to wetten things up just a little bit. More chances for showers and thunderstorms, a more progressive pattern, a more active pattern with some cold fronts bringing some rain. So that's something we'll be watching. You can see the darker shade of green. That's a higher chance of above normal precip. So we can only hope that that starts to pan out. Of course, hurricane season starts on June 1st. So anything that does look to develop. We'll keep you ahead of that. 96 Wednesday, 92 for our Epic Universe opening day. Friday, middle 90s, and then it looks like we're going to have the chance for a few showers and thunderstorms, some sea breeze, showers and thunderstorms there, Garrett, and then maybe another front on the way as we head through early next week. So hopefully some more rain and hopefully some breaks from this extreme heat.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, 92 degrees on Thursday, that's going to be nothing compared to the 97 we're going to see tomorrow.
I know, at least it'll feel a little bit cooler. I was shocked here. I was walking around outside earlier in the week, or I should say last week in the evening, and it was around 90, but that felt slightly cooler. It felt better compared to what it did in the heat of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. We're going to have to get used to it. And, one other thing, like you said, hurricane season coming up, that's not something we want to be thinking about yet, but, we are getting closer to that time as well.
We are. Thankfully, things are quiet right now. We can only hope that that holds for as long as possible.
Exactly right. Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist TJ Springer, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett. I appreciate it.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
A live look right now at Epic Universe ahead of the grand opening coming up on Thursday. The countdown is on, and now we have some new details that tell you everything you need to know about opening day for Epic, what to expect, and how to prepare. And earlier today, I spoke with Theron White, the lead publisher of EYNTK.info, to break it all down for us and give us a few helpful hints as well.
Yeah, so there's going to be one major change between opening day and every other day at Universal Epic Universe. There will be no early park admission. So normally at the Universal Orlando Resort hotels, you get early park admission into one of the parks. Universal Epic Universe will offer this except opening day. They're giving everybody a fair chance to be able to get into the park and get ready for the opening ceremony at 8 a.m. Now, the park itself is going to open up at 9 a.m., but at 8 a.m., they're going to do an opening ceremony. You can park and take the buses as of 6 a.m., and then they're going to open up some of the turnstiles and the gates at 7 a.m. So for those people that want to be there the first of the first, the earliest you can do is 6 a.m.
What do we expect from this opening ceremony? Do we know anything about it?
No, we don't have a ton of info. They say that these ceremonies are going to be small and that they're going to be at the portal entrances. So my assumption is that they're going to have a bunch of team members at each of the 4 portal worlds inside of the park. So you'll probably get to line up in front of whatever land you want, whether it be Nintendo, Dark Universe, or anything like that. And then you'll be able to kind of see the team members come out, maybe some characters, maybe they'll do some small daytime fireworks, and then you basically get to be the first people let in. They haven't said exactly what it is, but that's going to be my assumption is they kind of just have a very fancy portal opening for the day.
So if people are going out on Thursday for opening day, what do people need to prepare for?
It's going to be hot. It's going to be busy. I mean, those are things that you can just expect at really any of the theme parks this upcoming summer. But really, when you get there, because they are allowing people to get there at 6 a.m., I'm not going to be surprised if people try to show up early and they'll probably block some of the cars going into it. I have gone in and I've done the grand openings for theme parks before, and I'm going to say this, the park is open until 10 p.m. that night. So unless you want to be the literal first human being inside of one of those lands, you don't have to get there right at 6 a.m. It's going to be a long day. There's going to be a lot of rides and crowds and a ton of excitement. So you just don't want to burn yourself out to literally be the first human being there at 6 a.m. and then waiting all the way until 9 to really be able to get onto something or to see something. I'll be there probably around 7:30 to try and see that opening ceremony, but just unless you're trying to be the first person, you are going to see a lot of traffic and a lot of issues around there. One of the spots I actually wrote down here, they get pretty busy anytime that there's people going up for parking to Epic Universe. If you go in South Kirkman Road, that's going to be where Stella Nova and Terra Luna are, 2 of the hotels. So you can put that in your GPS if you want. That might be the better entrance to go into for Universal Epic Universe. Everyone goes up Epic Boulevard, and there's a lot of backup there on almost every day they've done these technical rehearsals. So if you can do South Kirkman Road, go in by Stella Nova and Terra Luna, you might save yourself a little bit of that traffic issues.
Because there are going to be big crowds, obviously, needless to say, on Thursday especially.
Absolutely. And of course, as Universal already said, they're going to open up the parking at 6 a.m. They're going to open up the busing at 6 a.m. So they're getting they're getting everyone there early to make sure. But I mean, it's the grand opening of the newest major theme park in Orlando. It's going to be incredibly busy, not just this day, but for the entirety of summer and as we go on. So just anyone that's going, be there, be excited, and just know it's opening day. Get ready for the hype and all of that stuff. The only recommendation I would say is, again, if you don't want to get there at 6 a.m., 8 a.m. is going to be that opening ceremony. So obviously you want to give yourself some time to go through security, scan your ticket, and get in place for whichever of the portals you'd like to see.
Any other strategies for folks to keep in mind if they are heading out on Thursday?
One thing I think is kind of interesting is because it's going to be hot, and this is something that works for the entire summer. This park does not just have lockers at the front of the park. They actually have lockers at the entrance to each of the portals. So if you're someone that does want to bring suntan lotion and maybe some waters or something else that you think you might need throughout your day, but you don't want to carry it with you the entire time, that's totally fine. They have the lockers at the front of the park. They've got the big family size lockers, but they also have smaller lockers that you can get in front of each of the 4 portals. So you can go and grab that and stick everything at the entrance to Super Nintendo World, go in and explore that in the morning. And then as it starts getting hotter in the middle of the day, you can go back to your locker and not have to walk all the way to the front. I did that on the last time that I visited, and it was very, very convenient.
All right. A lot of, that's going to be helpful, especially on, like you said, any day, but especially if you are planning for an open to close day on grand opening.
Yeah, and with all of the parks, it's very, very common that people are going to have issues with getting really hot. Anytime you want to visit these parks, the water is free. Go up to one of the quick service locations, ask for a cup of water. Trust me, Universal would much rather give you a cup of water than have to have someone that's going to have a heat stroke or anything like that. So be careful, be safe, and have a really fun time. We don't know yet what the finale is going to be, if they're going to do big fireworks at night or anything like that. But they have been testing drones. They have been doing spotlights. That could just be for the media preview the day before. But I've got an idea that they're probably going to have a couple extra surprises for opening day, and there's probably going to be celebrities walking around as well. So maybe because of opening day, you won't get to do every single ride because they'll be packed. But keep an eye out. I think you'd be surprised about how many people and how many pop-ups might happen inside the park that day.
What should people prepare for as far as wait times for some of those rides?
So what we've seen right now over the weekend, the Harry Potter Battle at the Ministry attraction left the virtual queue and was a standby line. I'm hoping that it's going to be staying like that forever now because it looks like it's been working better in that instance. In the morning, it is very normal for them to jump to a 300-minute wait, but by the afternoon, they're dropping to like 100 minutes. So I would say because that ride takes so many people in the morning, go out, do something else. It seems like Harry Potter and Nintendo kind of dominate for the wait times in the morning, so it might be a better time to jump over to Dark Universe or How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk or enjoy Celestial Park. When you go in, of course, again, opening day, we're not going to know until we know, but those seem like some of the recommendations to maybe avoid Nintendo because it does get slammed in the morning every day, and Harry Potter has now been slammed with those wait times. On average, it seems like the wait times for the major attractions are sitting anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. But if you keep an eye on the Universal Orlando app, you can usually catch the times that they're lower. They haven't yet done it, but you can go ahead and set for opening day once you get into the park. You can actually set a notification on the Universal Orlando app that'll tell you when a ride's wait time drops to a certain amount. So if you know you want to go on something, say in Super Nintendo World, you can say, all right, when it hits 45 minutes or less, go ahead and notify me. And you can actually do that and for any of the rides at Universal Orlando Resort. So that's really nice to get yourself prepped and maybe get ready to run over to that ride you want to do for a shorter wait.
Is there a notify me when Harry Potter hits less than 300-minute wait?
There is, yes. There is one that you can do for that. I saw some people joking, saying they were going to set it to 5 minutes and just pray that one of these times that they just get lucky. But you can. I mean, you can do that. I've seen that. I haven't yet been on that attraction. It's the only major one in the park I haven't done yet. But a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people online have said it is one of, if not the greatest attraction Universal has ever built. I'm excited to do that opening day. Again, I'm going to avoid the first initial crowds, but I'm really, really going to try to get on that because I've heard nothing but amazing things.
Yeah, I mean, 300 minutes, that's 5 hours if you're waiting for that.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, now that I have been to Epic Universe, if you are going to be waiting in line somewhere for a long time, that's the ride to do it. I mean, that queue space is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I was able to see just the entrance once you go through the Flu Network into that grand reveal, and that was incredibly impressive, so I can't imagine how great the ride is.
Certainly a lot to look forward to, and we have much more streaming coverage of Epic Universe all week, and especially on Thursday for opening day. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We are following up and learning more about 2 deadly Lynx bus crashes in Orange County over the weekend. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth joins me live now via Zoom. And Randy, what are we learning?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, there are two investigations into two deadly Lynx bus crashes over the weekend. I want to first start with the one that happened off State Road 50. A Lynx bus hit a pedestrian attempting to cross the road. The second one has to do with a Tesla.
I
The
just wanted to
driver
follow
accused of
her up right
hitting
now.
a another Lynx bus, an access bus. I did reach out to
You are
Lynx today to get
evil.
some more information about these investigations. They declined to comment, but I did also reach out to FHP to get some more information specifically about the one involving the Tesla and the driver in that vehicle accused of hitting the Lynx access bus. They are now investigating that as a traffic homicide investigation. In that particular crash, we do know that an elderly man, I believe 75 years old, was on that access bus and was killed in that crash. There was another passenger on that bus. They received minor injuries, and the bus driver received minor injuries. The person who was driving that Tesla was taken to the hospital as a trauma alert. They were listed in serious condition. And I did ask FHP, now that they are investigating this as a traffic homicide, do they anticipate charging the driver of that Tesla? And they said that, they have to complete the investigation first, get all the details, and then they will proceed or look into moving forward with filing charges.
But no indication at this point why that would have happened?
With the Lynx bus and the Tesla, as I was looking into the report about that, speed is listed as a factor in that investigation. FHP says the preliminary report shows that the driver of that Tesla was driving fast down Weatherby, was approaching the intersection in that area, Isle. I want to make sure that I get this correct. Isle of Wight Drive, was approaching that intersection, was trying to go around another driver and lost control of the vehicle and ultimately crashed into that Lynx access bus. And so speed is a factor that is being considered in this investigation. But ultimately, as I mentioned, FHP says that they have to continue the investigation, work through everything before they charge anyone in this case.
All right, so certainly something to continue to follow up on. Randy, I also want to ask you about another story that you've been following up on today, and that is arrests over the weekend at Welcome to Rockville.
Yes, that is something. One, very early on, we spoke with Sheriff Chitwood about this, and he said that law enforcement would be out and patrolling Welcome to Rockville. He also mentioned that Border Patrol would be there as well, patrolling. We've got new numbers from the sheriff's office late this afternoon. They confirmed that there were arrests. I want to break them down. 13 arrests by the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, 3 of those felony arrests. He also confirmed that Border Patrol detained 5 people related to immigration status, including 2 people who are working the event. The majority of those who were detained because of their immigration status are from Guatemala. I do want to point out, though, that 5 people detained this year, that's down from numbers last year. 7 people were detained last year. Now, in terms of, aside from the Border Patrol arrests, to break down Volusia County, their arrests, folks have been charged with things from selling counterfeit merchandise, disorderly conduct, selling alcoholic beverages without a license, and drug charges. So run the gamut of why people were in custody. Earlier, when I started talking about Welcome to Rockville, you had an image up of a table full of cell phones. That was a problem in previous years about people stealing cell phones, stealing wallets, stealing credit cards. We had one of our reporters out there talking to people who said that they kind of changed their habits when they were going to Welcome to Rockville because they knew that was such an issue. Fast forward to this year, Sheriff Chitwood said he was cracking down, and that has shown because, according to the sheriff's office, there were no reports of at least cell phones being stolen this year. So he, standing on business, he said that they were going to crack down this year. It appears that they did.
Improvement on that front, at least. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
We also want to go to Brevard County, where we're learning about volunteer fire departments that are struggling on the Space Coast. Fox 35's Fox 35's Esther Bauer joins me live now via Zoom. We just had Randy, and this is Esther. And Esther, we appreciate you joining us. Tell us about what's going on in Indian Harbor Beach.
Yeah, so you covered it well, but ultimately, volunteer fire departments are really struggling to stay volunteer. In Indian Harbor Beach, they've been all volunteer run since 1965, but that is going to be changing here soon. They are needing to start bringing on some paid staff, at least two full-time paid firefighters to start. And it's because they're really struggling to maintain a good ratio of volunteer firefighters that can respond when someone needs help and their house goes up in flames. It's for several reasons, but one of them is just the amount of training and hours it takes for volunteer firefighters to be certified here in Florida has gone up a significant amount. So the fire chief told me while he has 29 firefighters volunteer right now, only half of them can even respond to calls because the other half don't have that certification by the state that they have to complete before they can jump out and run into a burning home. So that was the first reason. Second reason, there are more people moving into the city. More people means more calls, and just the amount of volunteers has gone down over the years. The chief said families rely on multiple people working to make ends meet. So that has played into it, and just an overall sense of volunteerism across the entire country has shifted. So they're just seeing fewer people signing up to say, I want to be a volunteer firefighter. Specifically for Indian Harbor Beach, though, they're in a unique situation because while they want to bring on these paid firefighters, the current fire station can't even house full-time paid firefighters. So what they're going to do right now is hire some part-time maintenance staff. These will be crews that can help with just maintaining vehicles, maintaining things at the station. So the volunteers and the fire chief can really just focus on fighting fires, but they're also in the process within the next 5 years. They're going to be making some living quarters for these at least two full-time paid firefighters that will be coming on staff when this current fire station is up to par and they can actually live on site.
Well, but we also know that having paid positions doesn't solve everything. You've been covering a number of issues with firefighter pay in Brevard County as well. So that, there's no easy fix here, it seems like.
No, there really isn't. And you bring up a really good point. The whole situation when it comes to firefighting in Brevard County, those county firefighters are saying, hey, we're not getting paid enough to run into fires and to save people lives. These people aren't getting paid anything. So you can't imagine it would be harder to retain and recruit volunteers. But if it sounds like a familiar story, it's because we covered this a little bit ago, Melbourne Beach. They're also having to bring on some paid firefighters. It was the first time in about 50 years for that department too. And I did ask the fire chief in Indian Harbor Beach what other cities are doing. He tells me Satellite Beach does have paid firefighters. They're really one of the few on our coast that has maintained this volunteer model, but it looks like they will have to be changing to with the times.
All right, something to watch. Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Absolutely, and we'll talk with you guys soon.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Today, the Supreme Court of the United States lifted an injunction that had been put in place by another federal judge. And now that allows the Trump administration to move forward with ending temporary protected status for about 350,000 Venezuelans currently in the U.S. And as we talked about earlier with John Brown, a large number of those are here in our area in Florida. On Florida Live this afternoon, our 2 o'clock streaming show here on Fox Local, I had the chance to speak with Congressman Soto, a Democrat who represents Florida's 9th District. And he talked about, first gave his reaction to this decision by the Supreme Court, talked about his concerns and also some legislation that he has filed and is sponsoring to extend the TPS program.
Thanks for having me, Garrett. It's a sad day for Florida to see the Supreme Court uphold the termination of Venezuela TPS, knowing that we have hundreds of thousands of family members of American citizens here in Florida who will be deported because of this ruling.
Yeah, just kind of give me your initial thoughts when this came down. I know this is an issue that you've been working on in Congress and have been outspoken about. Just kind of give me your initial thoughts to hearing this about when the Supreme Court decided this.
Well, I passed a bill out of the House twice that granted temporary protective status to Venezuelans. It passed in a bipartisan fashion, including many Florida Democrats and Republicans voting for it. We eventually saw President Biden granted after an analysis that Venezuela is in chaos. You have a dictator down there murdering their people, and so granting this because of that emergency down there was the humane thing to do. It also helped out our local economy. Now, I saw so many small businesses and large businesses during the pandemic not have enough employees, and so this program, along with the parole program, which also affects Cubans, Haitians, and others, was a big part of improving the workforce for Florida. And so this is not only going to tear apart families, but also hurt Florida's economy.
What do you think needs to happen next?
We have a bipartisan bill with Representative Salazar and Wasserman Schultz that would redesignate Venezuela TPS. So that is a vehicle that could be passed out of the House. It'd be a tough road ahead to get it done. And in the meantime, I would encourage folks who were here on temporary protective status, you're still allowed to file individual claims for asylum. So if you have a potential asylum claim, I would certainly hire an attorney to press that claim. And, I'm worried about tourism and agriculture, service industry and construction, where you have a lot of folks who are immigrants working in those industries, some of our biggest industries. And I'm also worried about small businesses who may not have enough employees. Florida, we're blessed with a low unemployment rate, but it means it's tough to get employees for a lot of businesses, especially in areas that don't pay that much. And so this was helpful for a lot of these businesses that are now going to struggle.
Why is this TPS program so important, specifically for that Venezuelan community, in your opinion?
Because it's a disaster down there. We see a dictator who's murdering his own people. They're starving. Their economy is contracted by multiple magnitudes. And a lot of these folks, they've lived in Florida now 2 to 4 to 6 years or longer. There's a large Venezuelan American population also in Florida. We have the largest diaspora in the nation in our state. And so these are family members of American citizens, many of whom now will struggle to be able to remain in the country. And when they're sent back, many of them, they attacked the dictator Maduro, and now they're going to face a risk of persecution, maybe even jail or death when they're sent back. And so it's a real unfortunate situation.
Why do you think the Trump administration is taking this step?
So there's no doubt they've had a crackdown on unlawful immigrants, but these folks were here legally under temporary protective status. They've made a lot of hay on the Tren de Aragua, the gang that has some members in the United States. And if folks are committing crime and they're immigrants, they certainly need to be deported. but this was a small minority of folks. In fact, we see a lot of folks who were tempted to be deported as being part of this alleged gang because they had tattoos, only to find out that most of them had no criminal record or ties to organized crime. And so in the scare to get out some of these bad apples, we see a lot of folks who are otherwise law-abiding, productive members of our society who are here lawfully that now will be deported.
And you touched on this a couple of times in this interview here. But what impact do you think this could have on Florida?
So first, we could see prices rise. We could see services take longer to provide. We could see small businesses that can't find employees, especially your mom and pop restaurants, the local farms, some of the smaller attractions. And it could also affect new home prices and construction because, Florida, for all those industries, a third of our workers are immigrants. So you have Floridians already working, and that's still not enough to do the kind of demand that's out there for our growing state. And our state trends older. So we have a lot of folks who they're here, they're retired, and they require a lot of services. They also have built up a nice nest egg to afford it. And this can raise costs on these folks as well as the businesses that they look to be engaged with.
Still pushing ahead with the Venezuela TPS Act?
Yes, absolutely. We just filed it last week, and it's bipartisan. We're going to give it every effort, but it's going to be a tough road ahead, no doubt. And in the meantime, now this will go to individual asylum cases and deportations of folks, and we'll see how that goes.
What is the bottom line here? Specifically, folks maybe who are here under TPS right now and have questions about what this may mean for them. What do you want them to know? What would you say to them?
The bottom line, first, we appreciate you being in Florida and helping make our economy grow. Very key that you get an attorney now. You may have an individual asylum claim, and you need to seek legal counsel for that. But now the 350,000 folks, many of whom are in Florida, who are on Venezuelan TPS now could face deportation. So it's important to know your rights.
And obviously this fits into a many actions of when it comes to immigration by the Trump administration, by Governor DeSantis here in Florida. And just what do you make of the kind of overall landscape of things when it comes to the immigration enforcement and crackdown that you talked about?
Well, everybody wants lawful immigration. And part of the fact that we have folks here who are unlawful is because there hasn't been immigration reform in many years, including for dreamers and for keeping families together and helping out farm workers. And as a result of the failure to have reform, you have a lot of folks who have been working here for many years and who are productive parts of our society who are now facing deportation. Some folks may appreciate these quick deportations, but people will miss these folks when they're gone because a third of so many of our industries are immigrant workers, right? And it's one of the ways we've been able to grow as a state, and we continue to have low unemployment. So Central Floridians, Tampa Bay residents, and folks from across the state are still able to get jobs, and yet that's not enough. And so if you want to start a new small business, you may struggle to get enough workers, right? And so so much so that the Florida legislature's solution was to let kids work longer, which is a red flag for me, that they know that our economy can be in trouble, especially small businesses, as you deport all these workers who are otherwise law-abiding, that they need to have expanded efforts for Florida's kids to work because they know there's going to be workforce shortages, and that limits growth, that raises prices, that hurts our economy.
We'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We heard this afternoon from Orange County Commissioner Mike Scott with a message about professional baseball in Orlando. Check it out.
Hey, this is Commissioner Mike Scott, and I like baseball. I think you might too. Because Orange County, guess what? Baseball is coming soon.
Short and sweet and to the point, he says baseball is coming soon. The Orlando Dreamers, we know that organization pushing to bring Major League Baseball to Orlando and Orange County. You're looking at renderings of what that stadium would look like down on International Drive near SeaWorld and Aquatica. So Commissioner Mike Scott expressing his support. This video released by the Dreamers just a few minutes ago this afternoon. Important because we know that a stadium deal, we know the organization wants a public-private partnership, so support from the county commission would be needed as they look to build that stadium in the future, assuming they could bring a team here. A lot of things still in flux with that. We know we have covered it extensively here on Fox 35 News Plus, all the drama with the Rays, the push for either an expansion team or a relocated team coming to Orlando. So certainly a lot of momentum, things continuing to happen with that Orlando Dreamers push. Would love to see professional baseball here in Orlando, so we'll see where things go. But again, support from Commissioner Mike Scott. And that's going to do it for us here this afternoon on Fox 35 News Plus. We will go ahead and send things out to Studio B for the start of Fox 35 News at 5. You see John and Luann getting ready for that newscast, which begins in just seconds right here on Fox Local. And we'll see you right back here at 11 a.m. with more Fox 35 News Plus.
Right now on Fox 35 News at 5, the countdown is on. Epic Universe officially opens this week. And tonight we're taking a look at the epic impact it'll have on us living here.
A shooting spree. Bullets fly at one local apartment complex.
The firewall stopped it from going into my wall.
Innocent lives put in the line of fire.
And breaking news, a school employee hauled off of campus in cuffs. How deputies say she's connected to a teenager's murder.
Well, that woman works at an elementary school in Winter Garden as a food service